Where harbors are built on noise, steel hulls groaning, signal bells ringing, cannons watching the horizon like loaded eyes. But history rarely turns on the loudest weapon. Sometimes it moves on quiet understanding, on the one person who knows which lever matters and which rope lies. Listen closely, not to the guns, but to the gaps between them. Because in 1862, inside one of the most guarded Confederate ports, knowledge did something gunpowder could not. It slipped its chains and walked away. Our story begins in the Low Country, Beaufort, South Carolina, where beauty and brutality once shared the same shoreline. Warm winds drift through pillared porches. Salt rides the air. Live oaks bow under veils of Spanish moss. Tides redraw the borders twice a day, and every creek looks like a secret. Most histories of the Civil War are told in marching lines and battlefield smoke. But there was another war, silent, patient, unfolding at the water's edge, where observation was ammunition and memory was a map. Picture a harbor pilot who knows every hidden channel, every submerged tooth of reef, every coded whistle echoing across the water, yet legally owns nothing, not even himself. Forced to learn the system in order to serve it, and clever enough to learn it well enough to break it. They called escape impossible, not difficult, impossible. A Confederate war vessel guarded by artillery, officers, checkpoints, and protocol. But impossibility is often just a lock waiting for the right mine. On one ordinary-looking steamer, an extraordinary decision took shape. If freedom would not grant passage, passage would be forged. No army charged, no cannon fired, only timing. Disguise? Nerve. The sea does not choose sides, but it favors those who can read it. This is the story of precision, courage, and a theft so audacious it rewrote a life in a single tide. Robert Smalls, the planter. The night a harbor was outwitted, and the current is already moving. May 12, 1862. Evening sinks into Charleston Harbor, staining the water in bruised gold and iron red. The steamer Planter rests at her post, tethered and trusted. For the 3 Confederate officers assigned to her, the night feels routine. Sticky air, distant music, a party ashore. They step off the vessel despite standing orders. Comfort makes gamblers of men who think they cannot lose. They leave without fear. The crew, after all, are enslaved. To them, control feels permanent. They are wrong. From the wheelhouse shadows, Robert Smalls has been measuring this exact weakness, not hoping for it, timing it. This is not impulse, this is harvest. And what he intends to move tonight is not cargo, but futures. Near midnight, the harbor shifts from noise to breath. The Planter glides quietly to the West Point rice mill wharf. No lanterns, no shouting, only shapes waiting in the dark. Wives, children, crew families, everything that matters stands in a tight cluster of silence. Hannah steps aboard and locks eyes with Robert. No speeches pass between them. None are needed. If they fail, there will be no prison. Only punishment meant to erase the lesson. At 3 in the morning, steam wakes the hull. Now Smalls becomes something more dangerous than a pilot. He becomes a performance. He puts on the captain's broad straw hat, the long coat, the posture, even the stillness. Distance will do the rest. To reach open water, they must pass the throat of the harbor. Fort Sumter rises ahead. Stone, cannon, authority. The paddle wheel beats like a mechanical heart. No one speaks. Even fear holds its breath. Smalls reaches for the signal line. 2 long blasts, 1 short. Correct. Calm. Confident. Above them, a sentry studies the silhouette. The vessel he knows, the hat he recognizes, the story he expects. Expectation is the easiest disguise. Permission granted. The harbor opens its teeth and lets them through. Dawn begins to leak into the sky, and with it, the most fragile stretch of the journey. Behind them, Confederate guns. Ahead, the Union blockade, trained to fire first and question wreckage later. The rebel colors come down. In their place, a plain white bedsheet rises, Hannah's offering, turned into a banner of risk. A Union gunboat prepares to fire. Then, hesitation. The white flag catches the growing light. The Planter draws alongside. Robert Smalls removes the straw hat, the costume falls away, and the man steps forward, steady as sunrise. "I have the honor to present to you the Planter and her cargo. Not stolen metal, not captured guns, delivered freedom." The arrival of the Planter gave the Union more than a captured ship. It delivered a tactical advantage. Robert Smalls brought Confederate signal codes and first-hand knowledge of Charleston Harbor's defenses, including the placement of underwater mines. In wartime, information like that is worth more than artillery. But the Union command structure wasn't built for a man like Smalls. Not yet. Policy moved slowly, even when reality moved fast. There was still hesitation about placing black men in official military roles. Smalls didn't wait for the system to catch up. He stayed with the Planter, now under Union control, serving as pilot and guiding missions through the same narrow channels where he had once been forced to serve. In 1863, during a fierce action near Folly Island, the ship came under heavy Confederate fire. Shot and shell ripped across the water. Confusion spread on deck. The white commander, shaken and fearing capture, gave the order to surrender. Smalls knew what that would mean for the black crew. Surrender wasn't safety, it was a different kind of sentence. He refused the order, stepped in, and took the wheel. Through smoke, fire, and cross-current, he steered the Planter out of range and brought the crew to safety. This time, courage didn't go unnoticed. Instead of discipline, he received command. Robert Smalls was made captain of the vessel, the first black captain in United States service. Word of him traveled all the way to the White House. When Smalls met President Abraham Lincoln, he didn't come asking for personal reward. He argued for something larger, the right of black men to fight for the Union cause. His case was practical, not poetic. Loyalty had already been proven under fire. Historians point to his influence and to the undeniable weight of his actions as part of the force that helped shift enlistment policy. Smalls didn't just escape history's grip. He reached back and moved it. When the smoke of the Civil War finally cleared, Robert Smalls made a choice few would expect. He didn't remain in the North, where he was celebrated and safe. He didn't distance himself from the place that had bound him. He went home. He returned to Beaufort, South Carolina, to the same town where he had been born in slavery, behind another man's house. But the balance of power had shifted. With the prize money awarded for the capture of the Planter, Smalls walked to 511 Prince Street. The property belonged to the McKee family, the people who had once owned him. The house stood abandoned, seized for unpaid taxes after the fall of the Confederacy. Smalls did not destroy it. He bought it. He walked through doors he once entered only in service. He lived in rooms he had once been ordered to maintain but never occupy. It was not revenge, it was restoration. But the deeper measure of the man came after the purchase. Years later, the former mistress of the house, elderly, poor, and in declining health, returned, confused and with nowhere else to go. She believed it was still her home. Many in town wanted her turned away. History, they felt, should answer for itself. Smalls chose differently. He allowed her to stay in her old room. He made sure she was fed. He saw to her care until her death. No speeches, no spectacle, just a quiet decision that said more than victory ever could. Robert Smalls had escaped bondage, taken command under fire, and helped change the course of policy and war. But in the end, his greatest statement may have been this: freedom gave him power. Character decided how he used it. Robert Smalls had taken a ship and reclaimed his home. But he knew freedom wasn't a finish line. It was a policy fight, written in laws and protected at the ballot box. A citizen without a vote, he believed, was a citizen on borrowed ground. He didn't just enter politics, he helped shape it. Smalls was a founding figure in the Republican Party of South Carolina, bringing discipline and strategy to the turbulent years of Reconstruction. He started at the state level, elected to the South Carolina House of Representatives, and later the state Senate. His influence kept growing. Eventually, he rose to national office, serving 5 terms in the United States House of Representatives. In Washington, he stood for more than a district. He argued for civil rights protections, for black voter access, and for equal opportunity in military service. He spoke with the authority of a man whose record could not be dismissed. One of his most lasting achievements came back home. Smalls helped write the legislation that created South Carolina's first free and compulsory public school system, one of the earliest of its kind in the nation. He believed education was practical power. If you can read the map, you don't have to follow someone else's road. The years that followed were not gentle. Reconstruction weakened. Jim Crow laws tightened their grip. Political violence rose. Through it, Smalls remained steady, active, vocal, and unafraid to stand his ground. He died in 1915, in the same house where he had once been enslaved and later became the owner. His life crossed boundaries most people never approach: pilot, war hero, captain, lawmaker, reformer. History often celebrates loud victories. Robert Smalls proved that the decisive ones come from those who take the wheel and refuse to let go. History doesn't change all at once. It shifts when one person refuses the role assigned to them and writes a better one under pressure. Robert Smalls began life classified as property and ended it shaping public policy. Soldier, commander, legislator, reformer. Not by permission, but by proof. Again and again, when the moment narrowed, he chose courage over caution and action over comfort. His legacy isn't just what he escaped, it's what he built afterward. Representation, education, and civic power where none had existed before. Not a symbol, a force. We leave South Carolina here, but the story of power, risk, and human ambition is far from over. Next time on Crimes of a Nation, we sail deep into the Pacific, to a place so remote it nearly vanished from the world's memory. We trace the fallout of the HMS Bounty mutiny to Pitcairn Island, where isolation didn't bring peace. It bred danger, a fragile paradise, a closed circle, no witnesses. Until then, stay curious, stay cautious, and question the official version. Look twice at the stories that sound impossible. Some of them are.